Welcome to the Frame the Future podcast. I'm Clinton St. Hilaire and I'm joined by my partners, Omar and Vanessa. Vanessa is in Portugal right now, that's where she lives. I'm in the UK and Omar is in New York City. And we bring valuable information based on topics and educational content within the window and door industry. We specialize in this industry because we're passionate about it. We've all got a backstory and some connection to it. So without further ado, we're going to get into this.
We've pitched and worked with so many clients, and oftentimes we get someone who's interested in, just getting like a month worth of content, whatever that means. While it's something I'm willing to do out of the kindness of my heart, when you consider what it is, if you start to if you juxtapose it to other things, for example, like your diet, fitness, a business, if you work really hard at either of those three, all you'll have done is get a month deep into those, but you will not have truly accomplished anything. You won't see any meaningful results. And then you end up in this land of discouragement because you set a particular goal that was, if you think about it, unreasonable. So at the end of it all, you feel like you've accomplished nothing. When instead, if you set a time horizon that's a little further out, I would suggest a minimum of a quarterly goal, but to then assess what's going on, you won't accomplish what it is you're trying to. Instead, you'll just get closer to what the true end goal is. And Clinton, earlier you had mentioned 12 months is really kind of like the sweet spot of we can accomplish something here, you'll see meaningful results, and you'll feel like you've achieved that goal that you're trying to.
Yeah, it's just one of them ones where you have to be in it for the long game. You have to be in an investment mindset. That's how, we identify who is the right client to work with ultimately. But for the ones that are coming in, just wanting to dip the toe in and test things out, a month is not long enough. This is why we lean into strategy.
Yeah. I actually see that all the time with ads because they're like, okay, yeah, first week, they're already expecting the world. They're expecting a bunch of leads. Think about it. If it was so easy, why doesn't everyone do it? And I even talk about like from my own experience, when I started doing ads for myself, like I didn't do outreach or anything. I just started straight away ads. And I didn't get the leads like straight away. I had to wait months. And even after months of doing it, I didn't get the right audience. And it's always this process of like tweaking, looking at the data, and whether that is ads, whether that is content, like it's always going to take a little while. And that's the difference between the ones that are like the top 1% and the other people that are stuck because they start something, they start doing ads or content, then they think, oh, I'm not getting the results that I want. Then they switch to something else, start do it for like 1 month, 2 months, and then they see that it doesn't work. Then they're always switching. And I see that like with winner in their companies as well. Like they buy like leads from these platforms and then they want ads, but ads is not working quite as they want. They're like always switching these things, thinking like, oh, that's going to be the nice thing. But like it never is, right? It always going to take time. Otherwise, everyone would have a six pack. Everyone would be rich. It's not the case, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, I was just saying before you jumped on there with that extremely good point, because this is very common, we're not generic, we're strategists. And, strategy can take loads of different twists and turns. It's just having someone on your team that's willing to strategize at any moment, switching up the angles in terms of like, what's the content type we need to push out instead? What's lined up for us to test? What's your story like? Let's look at what you've had going on. Let's look at where you're going. Let's look at the results you've recently got. And let's try and figure out the best means going forward. And I'm speaking in terms of filmmaking, because without a strong presence online and, a strong brand presence, then it just makes doing the ads even harder, because we're talking about bringing leads to a place that doesn't look too great. But then if we fix that, it's not going to be it's not going to be a month thing. It's not going to be a 12-week thing. It's going to be an ongoing process to find the sweet spot. But in the process, because you're investing in your brand's presence, that content is collecting every single month and it's compounding and compounding. You're filling a stadium. There's 20,000 seats in the stadium. By the time we've filled it, your company is going to be flying. Think of it like that. Think about how good that stadium will be if it just has 100 people in it. Not very good. Just simple things like that. But again, it's just speaking to the right people, ultimately. Don't look at a video as a video. Look at it as an asset, for starters. When someone watches it, what does it do to them? Because for someone like Vanessa, who's running ads, she's bringing in qualified leads. They're clicking and coming for a reason because they're looking for windows and doors. So then when they come through, the only thing that can move them is what they see next. And if what they see next isn't working, then you can't just close the door on the whole process. You need to rework it and keep doing it. But ultimately, people are going to be moved and more compelled to take action based on what they see around the ad and that funnel that they're going through. They're going to go check you out and do their due diligence to see who you are. That's why when it comes to content, we're making ads, we're making organic content, we're making the conversion assets that go through the funnel. But if that content, if that process of building that brand presence isn't long enough, then there isn't a really good foundation for people to land on and use as a point of reference to make a decision, right? That's why I think.
If you're a window and door fitting company and your revenue is between $2 million to $12 million, but you can't seem to get past that, reach out to us, ClintonCreativeFilms.com. Hop on a discovery call, and if we can help you on the spot, we will. I think about all the ads that I see, and when it comes to television ads, for example, if you're watching whatever, if it's like a sporting event or anything else, first of all, on sporting events, you have everything plastered with ads. Everything is going to have some sort of an ad just laid out there, right? How much are they paying for that ad space? Also, any commercial breaks, you'll see the same ad repeated throughout every single commercial break over that time slot. So it's what they're doing is they're not just saying, "Oh, I showed it to 1 million people." We need to brainwash those 1 million people over and over and over again so that they have an association with our brand, whatever that is. So, and one example for me is I'll see a Domino's ad over and over again, and then all of a sudden, as soon as I'm hungry, well, that's pretty fresh in my mind. I don't even like Domino's, and I'll be in the mood for it, right? So it's a matter of brainwashing, and it's a numbers game. It's a volumetric type of situation where you need to, I don't even know if volumetric is the right word. It's a game of volume. You just have to push and push and push. And then another thing to consider is when it comes to like content creators that I follow, these are people that I'll see once in a while, right? Based on like a search. And I'm using content creators just because you shouldn't just be running ads. You should also be creating content for your business, regardless of what industry it is. But I'll type in a search and then I'll see something show up and I'll watch it. I don't know who that person is. I don't care who that person is. At some point later on, I type something up. There's that same person. Whether I remember them or not, we don't know. After a certain point, that person has then become a resource for me. So now I'm no longer just typing in what I'm looking for. I'm typing in what I'm looking for and that person. So that's something that's really important, right? It's also a matter of like that's how you achieve this brand presence that shows you as the expert.
And then you also like start associating, okay, this person talks about this topic. Let's say it was like, I don't know, Windows or it was like books. Then you start associating this person with that topic. So every time you think about that topic, you think about that person. Right.
Every time.
Yeah. And, when I, honestly, I used to have the ick when it come to like creating content. It's because, the foundations wasn't in place. And from the clients that we're going after, they've got the foundations in place. So they've got a good place to really start showcasing everything that they're about. And I always say, like, these are not just videos, these are assets. So, like, let's say we're building content across different social media platforms. My goal as the strategist and filmmaker is to make sure that when people land on Instagram, for example, on their Facebook, their LinkedIn, or their YouTube, that it's a library where they can just go and recap on that piece of content again because it's valuable. It's not fancy and distracting and it looks all good and bougie like everyone else's content. It's a point of reference. Or let me just go back and watch that video again. And then when they click through all the videos, everything's just value, value, value. And that's how your brand compounds, because when people land on your account, they love it because it's so valuable. And, you know, there's only been a few accounts where I've gone back to them in the past because I find every bit of content like really valuable. Now that's rare to say. That's really rare because most accounts, yeah, they've got good stuff on it, but the majority of it's just noise. Okay, someone might have a 30-second reel that's full of nonsense, but someone else might have a 30-second reel with some very informative information in there, which I like to refer back to all the time just to remember what was said. That's why, you know, there's the save button on Instagram, for example. On most platforms, you can save that. You know what I'm trying to say? That's what you want. You want to be like, not driving those metrics for the sake of it because the algorithm will start pushing out your content more. It's the fact that if someone's going to be spending hundreds of thousands on new windows and they're already checking out your social media, they're going to save bits of content and share it with the partners and friends for opinions like, look at this, this sounds good. That's the results we want. But then you're also building those kind of assets, which you're actually investing in. You're running them as ads. That's the power. So like, if you can achieve that kind of organic action from the social media, when you run those ads and it's landing on qualified leads, that's like boom. And then when they come through the sales funnel, so for everyone watching, you run an ad, your prospect clicks on it, they come through to your funnel, which is your landing page and or your website. And when they land there, you know, filmmakers like me and Omar have built you a strong method film, like the one I did for Vanessa, which you should check out on this LinkedIn or on this YouTube. It's called The VSL That Can Make You Millions on YouTube. If you look at it, the way Vanessa's speaking in there, she's articulating every single part of her method and her process and her deliverables to her client. And to watch it, for anyone that needs to consider Vanessa to run ads for their window and door company, after watching that, if you're qualified and hungry and need a solution, you are going to be 99% sold on Vanessa's strategy because number one of her offers in there is too crazy. If I don't get you results, I will work for free. It's a no-brainer. But the reason why you're going to continue with Vanessa is because that video is professional. It shows that she's serious. She's not doing no fancy hooks. She hasn't recorded a piece of content sat in the car or with like crap lighting and low quality. She looks the part and she's displaying premium, and her work is premium because she follows through on everything that she does. She's already generated hundreds of thousands, 10 million for clients already. So, you know, that's the process. And then, you know, you build out more of these assets, which brings that person closer to you. You're explaining so many things. You're talking about the method. You're talking about what to expect in a different video. And then other videos show out the sales funnel are showing the process and customer testimonials. 81% of the market say that they consume video quality, and it's based on what they see visually, which makes them trust a brand. So that's why it's important.
Absolutely. One thing I also want to, you know, allow you to consider is one of the ways that you're going to position yourself as an expert is like give away your knowledge, right? Like that's one of the most helpful things, because there are, for example, you know, so you can't give away your windows, right? That's literally impossible. You'll run out of business immediately. But you can give information on how to care for them, what makes your window better in that caring process, how to handle different types of weather, and why your window fitting or your door fitting is superior as a result of that. Always giving away the information and then showing, hey, these are things that you can run into here. Here are ways to mitigate that. Here are ways that our product does that for you. That's one way to position yourself as the expert, because you already are.
If you're a window and door company based in the United States of America or the United Kingdom, and you're trying to break into that 1 million threshold every single year, but just can't seem to get there, give us a call. Go over to clintoncreativefilms.com, scan through the website, have a read, and hit the call to action button to book a discovery call with us. And we'll talk you through one of our brand positioning audits where we can find out exactly what might be keeping you stuck at those lower numbers. And if you're a company that's already doing around 15 million a year, but you're at a plateau, the same applies. We look forward to speaking to you soon. A lot of people feel like they're talking enough. And yeah, they are talking enough, but they're just not talking in the right way. They're not showing up in the right way. And you know, one of the bottlenecks that I see for a lot of window and door companies is this. They're already busy and they think that's fine. Because they've got jobs booked out and you know there's a lot of work to get through, and that can kind of take them away from the actual goal of what they want to achieve. So like, you know, how do we get the message across to someone who wants to hit the 1 million ceiling every single year, but they're tied up in all these smaller jobs, but can't see that they're never going to hit that 1 million as long as they're tied up in all these small jobs throughout the year? And if they're not growing the business to where they've got more manpower and talent, obviously, and you know, people that are committed and that do a good job, they're never going to get the volume to hit that. And if they do get the volume, they're going to be tired. So like, to really build upon that brand and to aim high, you need to have the presence. You need to have a goal to aim for in order to attract premium clients with jobs that are worth way more than the ones you're currently getting. So therefore, you work less, you get better jobs at bigger margins, and then you're able to have the freedom to grow the company, expand it with more teams, and keep the same momentum. Then you're going to hit the ceiling. You know, because I've spoken to companies that are generating leads, you know, they're generating leads, but they're super busy, like rushed off the feet. And I'm just thinking, I don't really want to work
you know,
with someone like that.
They might think that because they're busy, you know, it's the good thing. But at the end of the year or at the end of the day, when they look at like where they actually at, they're not making more. They're probably making just as much as someone that is not so busy as them. And that's like the issue, I think, because they might be mistaken, oh, I'm busy, I can't take any more work. But that's the problem. You can't take on any more work because you're just focusing on these small jobs, or you can't attract like better quality jobs. So you're stuck at this level and you can't get higher than that. It's like the conversation I was having with Omar, for example. He's saying that he was overwhelmed, right? But like, for example, maybe if he looks at what he's doing, how many of the projects that you're doing, Omar, right now that are actually valuable and moving the needle or actually making you the money that you want, right?
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Yeah, we've all been in that situation at some point. And, you know, it just goes back to this thing we were talking about. You know, you can't just dip your foot into your branding for a month. You've got to really stick your foot in all the way, because, you know, it's a funny topic to like people who think that they've got it all sussed out. But the reason why you're running ads anyway can't just be to keep the wheels turning so you're constantly busy all the time. You want those ads or the SEO or whatever means to get leads running so you can get the kind of jobs that you desire and the kind of money you desire to be successful in business. And being successful in my eyes isn't being busy 7 days a week, hours on end. It's doing premium work with less work and being able to work on the business eventually and having teams out there. Because like when we all got into business, I'm sure the majority of people got into business to live a life of freedom, travel the world, look after the family, and, you know, ultimately be the guy that isn't running around like a headless chicken. Because some people start business and then that business quickly becomes a job, and it's more stressful than a job. So you may as well invest in your brand to like get yourself more freedom, but doing high level jobs with bigger margins. And that's my ideal client. That's the kind of client I want. I want someone that's going to invest in their brand and allow the creative freedom and allow the direction to take place, because that's what we are. We're strategists. And if we get that freedom, then we go to town. We dig deep. You know, like what kind of campaign can we run for the next quarter that's going to pull in a big project that's going to pay you way more than the next 50 little ones that you're going to do. That's the work of us. That's our job, to portray them and show them, we'll show the market what their brand's all about, you know what I'm saying? And then that's how it comes. And the person that I'm going to be speaking to soon wants to show up as an expert. He wants to attract a distracted market who are consuming AI content that's not authentic. But in order for him to break those walls down and, you know, be noticed as one of the most popular guys for what he does, is to get his face out there. And not only is he going to break down those barriers and become that face again, he's going to attract all the premium clients that are going elsewhere back to him, because there's one thing that AI can't replace. It's a personal brand. It's a solid brand, something that they can trust. You know what I'm saying?
Omar, I'm kind of curious. How did you find out, or like, what made you realize that brand is like a big thing that needs investing in?
I mean, a combination of things. A lot of it is through the content that I consume, but it is also the result of my experiences, right? It's and the anecdote was really what I mentioned before, where I will come across something that I'm looking for, and I'll see certain content creators who are consistently talking about topics that I'm interested in, who have the solutions that I need. And that's one thing I'm huge on. I'm huge on, you know, like, your intellectual, like what you have here, share that, because that is valuable, and someone will find you. And the people who will use that to their advantage on like a DIY scale, that's not your primary client. It's the people who need you to do it for them. That's your primary client. And that's why I'm sharing that, like, these windows and door fitting manufacturers and distributors should really just be out there sharing all the knowledge they have as to why certain products are better in what climates, what geographical regions, how to handle different types of weather and temperature. Just share all the knowledge, while also incorporating some sort of a call to action where it's like, hey, we are the expert here because of, you can tell by all the knowledge that we've shared. So because of that reputation, we're telling you that we have exactly what you're looking for based on our understanding of this industry, and not just the industry but really of the benefit that their product brings. And so that's really what made me aware. That's one of the things that made me aware of why branding is so important, because it's really positioning, right? You're positioning yourself as the expert in that spot, and you're making yourself a trusted resource, right? One example, McDonald's. McDonald's does not make the best burger, but McDonald's is consistent, right? I've never gone to McDonald's and had something that doesn't taste the same as it always tastes. And sometimes it's just easy. And then there's a bunch of like flash behind that, and like things look appeasing, and there's a whole psychology behind that. Don't eat McDonald's, by the way. McDonald's is terrible for you. But you understand what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, that is true. I actually heard that from my brother one day. Like, he was like, I mean, I can go anywhere in the world, but I know that McDonald's is gonna taste like what it always tastes like. It's like, people want that consistency. And I think even with restaurants, sometimes the issue is that either they don't know what's going to taste like, but sometimes they might not be consistent in terms of what, like, the food that they serve, right? So that is like a good point, right? Like, you want to know what you're getting for, like, what, when you pay for something or for food or whatever, you want to know what you're getting for, right? So that is true. And I think, like, with branding, is the same thing. It needs to be like consistent, so that every time you have a brand or you think about a brand, you associate it with something.
Right. And back to the whole restaurant example that you use, like with a restaurant, you're not necessarily paying for a consistent food experience. It's more so the whole environment experience, right? Like, why are you paying a premium at a restaurant? Well, because you're gonna get premium food. I've been to restaurants, like you just mentioned, where the steak tastes different today than it did last week or last month or last time I was there. But the experience is the premium, and that's what I'm going there for. I go to that restaurant because that waiter, JB, takes good care of me.
See, when it comes to branding as well, it's all about the strategy to stay consistent in a few different areas as well. Then it becomes a pattern, and then over time, a consistent pattern becomes recognizable. So, for example, let's say a content plan for a client every month was a bunch of ads that, are selling and advertising maybe 3 different areas of the business, but all, for the same outcome, right? And then you've got your educational content, which is overall industry knowledge. And then you could have like item specific knowledge. So there's 3 pillars in the content every single month. So you might run that for the first 6 months. So like, we know we're not just doing content, we're building tons of ads that we're going to keep in rotation. So every single month, we're finding the ones that really hit until we get one that's converting consistently. So then the client's got peace of mind, like, okay, we're doing all of this, but some of them ads are the ones that I'm paying to go to work. And then these other ones are compounding my brand to help build that brand visibility and the recognition within the market. And because you guys are on board, it's not disposable media, it's high quality reference pieces, and it's well designed. Even when it goes on the grid, you guys have taken care of the real covers and how it's presented. So when I go on my phone as the owner of this company, I look at my Instagram, it looks absolutely prestige. I go on LinkedIn, everything is well captioned. Obviously, they might have their own in-house people for that, but we can advise on, keep it looking nice and presented. And, Facebook and any other media, YouTube is very important. So then when clients are looking, it's like we keep seeing these guys popping up. And when I went to their social media and did some research, everything just looked absolutely well branded, well put together. Of course, I've been big on this, and Vanessa knows it, on premium level looking content. But, you can throw in some normal day-to-day stuff. Like, we can capture some B-roll of what's happening, when we go there, just the guys in the office or on site, doing various things, even help them to get content that shows that they're investing in their brand by showcasing the guys filming as well. So it kind of brings it down a little bit so it's not too formal. But ultimately, when it comes to people spending big money, they need to be like captivated and they need to feel like they recognize that person, like you guys were saying with the McDonald's. It's consistent. I saw some ads today because they're popping up now everywhere. Window and door companies who are running ads. Even people that are running ads for window and door companies. So even like Meta ads specialists like Vanessa was showing up. And honestly, like, I know they're getting leads, right? So I looked into it and I saw some behind the scenes content of a person that's running ads. And no disrespect, but that guy's clients are not the ones that we work with. Okay, these are just, people in the industry at a certain level. It's not the level we're going after. And the guy's ads were a reflection of that. Do you know what I mean? Because he was in his car in one of his ads, looking down at the camera, and it was all pixelated and distorted with some really like entry-level captions over it. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but me personally, with the standards that I have, I wouldn't have even gone with that guy, to be honest. Thanks for watching this podcast, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe, especially if you're in the window and door industry, and especially if you run your own window and door company. We're bringing lots more content as time goes on. We're very busy people. Sometimes when we start these podcasts, we're just getting in from filming and doing a bunch of stuff, but it's very important that we share our knowledge and what we're doing. And yeah, we welcome you on board for the journey. So thank you for watching. Once again, please subscribe and give us a like if you found it valuable.